Let's model a double-barreled shotgun in Plasticity. Like always, first we have to grab a reference image, and then I pull that into Photoshop to remove its background and import it into Plasticity. Once the reference image is in Plasticity, I make sure to set its material settings to transparent and front-facing, so as I work and create geometry, I don't get in my own way and cover the reference image. Now, this is a fun model because for all extensive purposes, double-barreled shotguns are rather simple and don't have too many parts. So the first thing I do is I just start blocking out the major parts by creating faces with lines and then extruding them out. I start here with the handle as that middle receiver part, and then in turn the barrels will be connected to the handle flush. Now, moving on to the barrels and that middle hinge or receiver part, this was a little tricky. In fact, the first time I tried shaping out the profiles of the receiver and the barrels, I somehow was drawing my faces off axis, which was very frustrating. So I started over, creating two cylinders for the barrels, and connected them through the middle and boring them through. Now I had the profile of the barrels, I could simply extrude to lengthen or shorten as I wish. But I still had to make the back of those barrels. That's the part of the receiver where the firing pins would be housed. This was quite an intricate but also satisfying workflow, having to create spheres of the same size as the barrels, then cutting them with other shapes as tools, and copying their middle faces to extrude to connect together. But it did work quite well. With all that done, I could then move on to blocking out some of the smaller bits. Still important, but small, like the triggers and trigger guard. I also took a break here real quick to bevel and fillet some of the edges of the weapon where needed, like the handle, for example, as it was starting to bother me seeing all the sharp edges the more the weapon came to life. I then moved back to the top of the weapon, creating the hinge lever that would drop the barrels down to load and unload shells, as well as that switch behind it, which would most likely be the weapon's safety, or to switch its fire mode from shooting both barrels at once or just one. I think. Don't quote me on that. Now, many simple barreled shotguns like this don't have dedicated Picatinny rails or even iron sights, but they do typically have some sort of flat rail up top, so I decided that for some extra detail and depth to add it to the model. Moving on to the smaller details like the diamond cut into the middle hinge receiver and some rivets, also added some cutting and beveling into the gripped parts such as the handle and that front grip, and just like that my model was done. So I brought it into Blender using Plasticity's official Blender bridge and tested out some materials and lighting renders on the model to bring it to life. And here's the final result. Make sure to subscribe to see the next weapon I model and comment below suggesting what model you'd want to see me model next.